Hello, we are in lesson 3 for discovering, rediscovering, or redefining your core values. In this lesson, you will create your own personal list of values using a tool, a list of values if you would like, looking back at your answers from lesson 1 and 2, and then also a couple ideas that I post here in this lesson. So let's get started. So this is a little bit of information on why values are important. And as I'm reading about them or listening to speakers and mentors talk about values, it really always comes back to really understanding yourself, knowing the person you want to be, knowing what you want out of life, and how when you do those things and spend that time thinking about those things, how that just lays this strong foundation for the rest of it. It gives you this direction and focus all of a sudden where now you're able to prioritize a little bit better. Decisions come a little bit easier because time's precious. And we want to focus our intention and be very intentional about the things that we do in order to achieve what we want in life. I think the other thing that you really understand when you go through this process and think about these things, even if you did not come up with your top values and you're a little unsure, the one thing that I think you really gain is just more self-awareness. Just by answering the questions maybe that you've done in lessons 1 and 2, you're learning about yourself. And when you start learning about yourself and becoming more self-aware, you realize, that you see the world differently. Often you become, more compassionate and you have more curiosity about others, because you're learning all these things about yourself, and you know that if you have all these wonderful, unique characteristics about yourself, then so do others. So I think anytime you spend learning about yourself and being curious, that also helps you in other relationships in your life. So today, here's what I think will really help you when you're trying to make that list of values. Is just some questions to think about. So you've kind of got your list already, and we'll talk about that list because your words are kind of have fallen into categories. But when you look at this tool that I give you today, that's got all these different words on it, right? You may see some words that you're just like, oh, I should choose that one, or oh, that one sounds so great. And I absolutely get it, because I think it's hard when you see words. Sometimes you're just drawn to certain words, and that might be a good thing. Like that might be the word you are supposed to be living out. But here's one thing I want you to keep in mind. How do you want to live your life as the greatest version of you? I really talk about the importance of having mentors and coaches and people in your life that serve as inspiration for you, because you want to grow, you want to learn, you want to be the best version of yourself. And so we surround ourselves with others that can help us do that. Often we're attracted to people because they may share like values, or we see qualities in them we just love and aspire to be. But we have to remember that we can't be the greatest version of them. We can't work to try to emulate them. There's certain characteristics that we might really love and want to develop in ourselves that we see in them, but we have to still be the greatest version of ourselves, right? We are born with very unique gifts, and we are all here on this earth to bring value to it in our own unique way. So keep that in mind, and I actually put some questions underneath that might help you when you're looking at words to choose. We've talked about this in past modules. What are your passions? What's your purpose? Your values should be supportive of that. What are your strengths? Your skill strengths. I know a lot of the words that showed up in my answers to questions that I answered in lesson number 1, a lot of them were my strengths, which is a good thing, right? We want to live in our strength zone. Now, remember, when it comes to our strengths, we're talking about skills. We all want strong character. It's important in life. So maybe you've got some character weaknesses, we all do, right? That you can work on to be the best version of you. So you may see things on this list and say, this is something I really value and I want to be. I aspire to be this. This might be a word for me as well. The second thing I have on here for you to think about is when you're choosing these top values, it should really be an inside out process when living these values out, right? So let's just use the word respect. So if I choose the word respect, I don't want to focus on, well, respect is important to me because I want my boss to respect me and my husband to respect me and my kids. And this is, how do I live a life of respect? Now, that doesn't mean you wouldn't want that from other people, but something you may want to think about here is, if I go back to being proactive, if I go back to having a growth mindset, and I say, it is up to me, I get to make the decisions on how I succeed. This is an inside out job. I'm going to be a model of respect. I'm going to respect myself, those around me, and I'm going to show that through me. I'm going to live that daily. If I don't feel respected by another individual, right? First of all, remind myself no one can tell me how I feel, right? I take responsibility for that, but we get hurt, and it's okay to tell people when we're feeling hurt. That's absolutely okay, and I encourage you to do that. Clear communication, and tell them, set boundaries, talk about, the issues, tell people how you're feeling. That's okay. Then after that, if people know where you stand on it and you have these discussions, if things don't improve, then you know what decision to make. So if you're in a job where you're continually feeling like you're being disrespected, maybe that is your opportunity to decide on something different. So just keep that in mind, that you really want to have it centered on the inside out. The other thing to look at is that list that you created in lesson number 2. At the end, I had you categorize the words based on people, outcomes, possessions, traits, and behaviors. When you're deciding on your top values, really think about where these words may fall and determine what's most important to you. Now, I'm not saying that anything's right or wrong here, but just take a look at where things are falling. I might show you this list that might help you. So this was in our last lesson. We created this, and I just put a bunch of different words in here. So maybe you find that a lot of your values fall in outcomes. Okay, not that that's bad, but think about that. Sometimes when we focus on the outcome, we don't always focus on the journey. We've talked a little bit about that. And maybe how you're defining some of these outcomes does focus on the journey. Maybe it really does. So success to you is just growing every day, learning something new, being a better version of you, whatever it is. So just be aware of those things. How many of yours fall in people? Not that that's a bad thing, but sometimes I think we have these roles in our life where, we have family. In my case, here's my roles. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a sister-in-law, I'm a teacher, I'm all of these things, and I want to live out my values in the best way in all those relationships, because relationships matter. And I don't get to pick and choose whether I'm a sister or whether I'm a mom. That's the role I play. And so sometimes I think you do not have to think of it in this way, but I want to choose values in which I can grow and be the best version of me in these roles too, and uplift myself, especially as a child of God, in my role in that as well. Now that's personal to me. That may not fit everyone, but that's almost overlapping all of these things, right? So think about that when you're choosing your top values. It can be a value. Your faith can be a value, but sometimes people choose it as this overarching umbrella that is above all of these values, and you're working to find your way of living out your values in each of those roles, if that makes sense. So here's the list. Now, there are 1 million, billion, zillion, quadrillion lists on the internet. That's not a number, sorry. You basically can type in values list and you'll get all sorts of them. So you do not have to use this one. I just had these on cards at home that I had ordered. And you just have to see what really connects with you. You've done 2 lessons on it. You really have thought about it. I'd get out your notes, take a look at those things, and think about the questions that I've given you today to think about. It's not a fast process, and that's okay. Just spend some time and maybe just choose some today and really think about them, make a list, and then think about them throughout the day and think about them tomorrow. And you may decide, nope, that's not one I'm thinking about, or oh, I've thought of another. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. All right, if you have any questions, please post them or ask them. You can post a video of yourself asking the question. That's no problem. If you have some other resources or ways to help others in this process, please feel free to post that as well. And then we will see you here in lesson 4 on Tuesday. And our live session will be on Thursday if you want to put that in your calendar. More details to come. All right, have a great day.